Today we're going to be taking a look at some controversial logging at Mt St Leonard, which is just 57 kilometres from Melbourne, as indicated by this red line. Now what we're going to do is zoom down into the Melbourne CBD and then fly up to the Yarra Ranges where the controversial logging is taking place. So here we are on top of Mt St Leonard's. So here from the top of Mt St Leonard we can see Melbourne in the background, and as we pan around the Yarra Ranges and the Great Divide we start to see some of the controversial logging down here in the foreground, which is creeping up the side of the mountain. This is visible from Healesville, Toolangi and Kinglake, and on the left hand side of this coupe they are currently logging in an area called Leo's Foot, and it's going to be a very large coupe which will be visible from Toolangi, Kinglake and surrounds, and it's going to have negative impacts on tourism. And as you can see from the red square, that's the size that the coupe's going to be. In a recent meeting in Toolangi, out of a crowd of 120, 42 people put up their hand when asked if they had formally submitted complaints to VicForests through the TRP process. When asked whether they were satisfied with the consultation process and whether they felt that their concerns were incorporated into the planning process, none of them put up their hands. In 2010, Treasury commissioned VicForests to do an audit of VicForests, and it came up with a number of recommendations, but here in Appendix J, they say that the financial consequence of failing to adequately address the social impacts of its operations are considered to be low to medium, but may result in adverse outcomes for VicForests' desire to achieve a social licence to operate. The loss of community support could increase the risk of losing its social licence to operate and access to the resource. Following the community meeting in Toolangi, at which VicForests attended, VicForests did not follow up in relation to issues raised. They did not answer questions and they did not provide information, but instead continued to log the coupe of concern. So in The Age, this article was written "Tree-Pronged Attack as Abbott Throws Down the Gauntlet on Logging." Abbott's comments came as 31 people were arrested for blocking clearfell logging on the side of Mt St Leonard near Healesville. About 70 local business owners and conservationists walked into logging coupes early yesterday, some wearing masks with the face of Premier Ted Baillieu. Police said 31 were charged with failing to leave a public safety zone. Protest organiser Chris Van Heusen, owner of a local bed and breakfast and member of conservation group My Environment, said visitors were being turned off by the destruction of clearly visible forest. The feedback we're getting from our visitors is that they're not going to come back. She said it's absolutely going to destroy the tourism businesses of this whole community. So VicForests follow the Australian Forestry Standard, AS 4708, and this is an example of the logo. Now, under section 4.2.2, the forest manager shall facilitate and encourage meaningful participation of stakeholders in the development of the forest management plans or equivalent instruments, and that is involving the TRP, the Timber Release Plan submission process, but they are also required to explain how decisions were made, including demonstrating how stakeholders' views were considered and, where relevant, incorporated into the plan. Now, in 2010-2011, My Environment did submit TRP submissions to VicForests, but we did not receive responses from them. As was indicated in the meeting, 42 people were also dissatisfied with the level of consultation, and we complained to SAI Global, the auditors of the AFS certification at VicForests, about this. They investigated and failed to find any major corrective actions were needed, and continue to this day to issue VicForests with an SAI Global Certified AFS certificate, which allows VicForests to continue to log with a social licence. Approximately 80% of the wood from these contentious coops heads over to Maryvale, and this fairly long journey by truck is subsidised by the Victorian taxpayer. Where it arrives at Nippon Paper's Australian paper site for making reflex copy paper. So down here in the foreground, we're able to see the large piles of native forest logs, and up the side here as well. And those logs are stockpiled there before being put through this wood chip machine, where they're turned into wood chips and stockpiled. They travel along the conveyor belt and up into the pulp and paper making process, where they are turned into reflex copy paper. So the native forest paper products are then distributed through a range of distributors such as Officeworks, and here we can see that they are promoting the Australian Forestry Standard, which VicForests is certified to through SAI Global, and it's endorsed by PEFC. If we scroll down the page a little, we can see here the native forest paper products being sold by Officeworks. Profits from Australian paper then go back to Nippon Paper in Japan. And this is their head office in Tokyo. My Environment is proudly supported by the following organisations. If you'd like to make a donation to help us continue our work, please go to www.myenvironment.net.au and click on the donate button. Enter an amount in the donation box and then click donate to choose your payment method. We look forward to your continued support. Thank you.